What's up, guys? Welcome back to the LOM podcast. This is actually today's episode for the people on YouTube. Apple Podcasts and Spotify are coming soon, but until then, enjoy this episode. Peace. Yeah, that's right. What's up, gang? How you doing? It's your favorite podcaster back with a little bit of one-on-one time. Hope you're doing all right. All right, I hope you've been good while I've been gone. But I'm here now, back with another episode of Lion on Main. Now, I'm not going to bullshit you. The last episode was kind of rough, to say the least. But I took the feedback that I got, and I'm making this episode better than the last one. First things first, I got to talk about The Bachelor, okay? A lot of shit has been going down on The Bachelor, both on screen and off screen. So first off, I'm just going to cover what's been going on screen. So just this past week was Hometowns. Now, if you remember when I was talking about The Bachelor in the last episode, Hometowns is one of the crazier episodes. Because Hometowns is when the contestants bring the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, whoever it is, to meet their family. And every single time this happens, the family of the contestant basically put a bunch of doubts in the contestant's mind and the Bachelor or the Bachelorette's mind. Usually you'd think that these hometowns is a time where the Bachelor or the Bachelorette can meet the family, they can have a connection, get to know each other, and sort of prepare for this person potentially being invited or welcomed into their family. But every single time Hometowns happens, it's like the family does the complete opposite. It's like they try to push the Bachelor or the Bachelorette away. And they try to make sure that the contestant, their child, just doesn't end up with them. Which never really makes any sense to me. I understand where a lot of the family members are coming from. Because if you listen to these Hometowns, the parents are usually like, are you sure you can really find love within these few weeks that the show's going on, while the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, while your partner is dating all these other people at the same time, which are valid concerns. But wouldn't you have brought these concerns up before the season started? Maybe when the contestant was like, hey, I'm joining the Bachelor or the Bachelorette. Wouldn't you have been at that point like, do you think this is a good idea? I mean, do you really think you'd be ready for marriage by the end of it? Do you really think you could find love by the end of it? And, figure things out beforehand. Because you just go through this entire process, okay? There's 3 weeks left, including Hometowns, because it's Hometowns, Fantasy Suites, and then Proposal. So you're at the very end, and just now you're starting to be like, I don't think this is true love. I don't think that this is good for you. It's like, why did you wait so long to express these concerns? So, as usual, this past Hometowns was the exact same thing. The last 4 contestants this past episode was Michelle, Rachel, Bree, and Serena. And for this episode, the contestants planned the date with Matt beforehand, before meeting the family. Whereas usually it's Matt who's planning all the dates for the contestants. This time the contestants planned a date for Matt. The first date was Michelle's. And Michelle took Matt to meet her students because Michelle is a teacher. And so she had a Zoom call with, I don't know if it was all of her students, but with a bunch of students. And they asked her and Matt some questions. It was real cute and all that. But then it's the thing that we all came for. Hometowns. Meeting the parents. Alright, so Matt goes and meets Michelle's parents. And just like always, Matt goes out and he starts talking with the father. And the father is, kind of asking Matt all these tough questions. But pretty genuine questions, some genuine concerns. He's like, are you telling these other ladies the same thing you're telling my daughter? You know, what makes my daughter so different? Do you love my daughter? All this stuff, yada, yada, yada. And Matt actually tells her father that he's fallen in love with Michelle. But then, after he meets the parents, and Matt and Michelle have their one-on-one time where they talk about stuff, he didn't say anything to Michelle. And I was like, I mean, you already told her father that you were falling in love with her. Why wouldn't you tell Michelle? And Michelle even told him that she loved him. And he was just like, cool. Like, dude, it's not like you don't love her. You just told her father. But like, you know, some of the things that happens, I don't understand. I wonder if a lot of things that happen or a lot of things that Matt says or doesn't say is purely scripted by the network. Because it's not like he wasn't telling other contestants that he loved them. He told Rachel Kirkconnell that he loved her a while back, that he was falling in love with her. So I don't understand what was holding him back from telling Michelle in that moment. Because it's not like he didn't feel it. He told her father. And I noticed that he did this. It seemed like he did that every single time with these last 4 contestants. He would tell their parents that he was falling in love with the contestant, but then he wouldn't tell them, the contestants themselves, which I just don't understand why. I mean, he didn't even tell Rachel at Hometowns that he loved her, even though he already did in the past. And now Rachel was the next date, the next Hometowns. And so she decided to take Matt skydiving. Now, everything was working out fine until it came for the landing. I don't know what happened, but bro, she body slammed the ground. Like, holy crap. It was a really rough landing. And, you know, obviously it freaked Matt out. So he started running over and he was trying to help her, and, you know, she got all bruised up because of it. But, you know, hey, that's why I don't go skydiving, bro. Like, dude, jumping out of an airplane and falling and hoping that, like, a sheet is gonna keep you safe. I don't understand how people do that. I mean, part of me wants to go skydiving, but then there's another part of me where it's just like, dude, I'm gonna fucking die. Because, you know, I mean, she body slammed the ground, so I mean, that's gonna happen to me. So yeah, that was her date. Went well. And so then it was the actual Hometowns part. Now, I feel like Rachel's family was the most critical of the situation because, I mean, her dad was like going in on Matt and Rachel, basically telling them that this is crazy, you know? You can't find love within this short amount of time. And I was just sitting there, I was like, dude, just chill out, man. Okay, relax. It's not that deep. I mean, if Rachel loves Matt and Matt loves Rachel, I mean, who cares how long it took for them to finally get engaged? But you know, that's typical Hometowns. That happens every friggin' time. Why didn't you express these concerns to Rachel before she got on the show? Oh my god. It's so weird. But anyway, so after they meet the parents, Rachel and Matt had their discussion outside. And once again, Rachel's like, yo, I'm falling for you. And he's like, that's kind of cool. Doesn't say it back though. And then when he leaves, Rachel's all upset because Matt didn't ask her father for his blessing. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, you don't even know if you're gonna win. Like, what, Matt's just gonna ask your father for his blessing, and then your father's like, yeah, I'll give you the blessing. And then what if tonight you don't get a rose? I mean, Matt just got that blessing for no reason. You know, and it's not, he didn't ask any of the other parents for their blessing to marry their daughters. It's just, that's not what this was for. Because still, no one knows who's gonna win. Or do we? Well, anyway, so the next contestant was Bree. And Bree's date was going off-roading they had this nice Jeep, and they went off-roading, mudding, basically, in the woods. Because these dates for hometowns with the contestants, I mean, usually what it is the contestants bring the bachelor, the bachelorette to their hometown, which is why it's called hometowns. And so they're supposed to show the bachelor, the bachelorette, everything that they do, let them see how their hometown is and all this stuff. But, you know, because of COVID, they couldn't really do that. They had to keep everybody quarantined, so they brought the parents to where The Bachelor was being filmed. So that's why a lot of these dates is just kind of like sort of things that they did in their hometown. And so with Bria was off-roading. And so they went off-roading, and then when hometowns came around, it was the same thing. Parents were like, are you sure about this? Can you actually find love within a short amount of time? Yada, yada, yada. I think Bri's hometown kind of went the most smooth, which is great. You know, I feel like that's how hometowns should usually be, but then again, that doesn't create drama, it doesn't create viewership, because, I mean, nobody wants to see a completely fine hometowns. Like, you know, they want to see arguments, they want to see conflict, they want to see drama. So Breeze wasn't like that. Of course, parents expressed concern, but overall it went fine. And once again, Bree told Matt that she loved him, and Matt was just like, yo, thanks for sharing that. And it's like, dude, you can tell her, because once again, he told her parents that he was falling in love with her. Like, why can't you tell Bree? I don't understand. But I bet that's just the network. The network is probably like, Matt, you can't be saying that stuff. Okay, this is a drama show. Okay, we have to give the illusion that you haven't quite made up your mind. You don't love any of them yet. But I mean, I don't understand, because he told her parents and we saw it. It's just, I don't get it. But you know, whatever. We'll move on to the last one. The last one was Serena. Now, Serena is from Canada. So what she did was they had this date where she brought some stuff from Canada to where The Bachelor was being filmed. Like foods and merchandise. I mean, there was a bunch of Canadian flags all over the place. And they had this whole like hockey play date or whatever. And, you know, it was kind of sweet. Then hometowns came around, and it was with Serena's mother and her sister. Now, her mother was kind of chill with the whole thing, you know? She was kind of like Bree's parents, so she's like, are you sure about this? You know? But then it was like, her sister just like went in on Serena. She's like, you're not ready for this. I can just totally tell you're not ready for this. And like, Serena just like broke down. And the family's putting all these doubts in Serena's head. And so after the whole hometowns, Matt and Serena had a discussion, and you could tell that, I mean, Serena was noticeably upset about the whole thing. And even Matt noticed it. So after Matt went back to the hotel or the resort, wherever they were staying, he sort of had this discussion with Chris Harrison. He's like, you know, I could totally tell something was off with Serena. And Chris Harrison's like, I mean, you can go talk to her if you want. I mean, do you want to save this relationship? Like, you should go talk to her, figure out what's going on, all this stuff. And so Matt, he goes to where she is to try to save the relationship, try to figure out what's going on. And I gotta say, this whole part was legitimately hard to watch. Okay? Him and Serena, they had this discussion, and Serena was just like talking about how all these things that happened in her past and how she thought she was going to be ready for what was going on in The Bachelor and all this stuff. But she ultimately broke up with Matt. She told Matt, she's like, you're not my person. And before she said all this stuff, Matt like poured his heart out to her. You know, he's like, hey, I'm here. I'm trying to save this relationship. I want to be with you. All this stuff. So, I mean, you could tell she was obviously going to get a rose for that rose ceremony. But she broke up with Matt, and so she left. So I'm kind of wondering who the original person was who wasn't going to get a rose. Because, I mean, if Serena was going to be the person who wasn't going to get a rose, I don't know if Matt would have gone to save the relationship. Because he would have been like, well, she's going to get kicked off the show anyway. So, I mean, what's the big deal? But obviously that wasn't the case because he tried to save the relationship. So somebody else was supposed to get kicked off the show that episode. Because we get to the rose ceremony and there was only 3 roses. There was only 3 contestants left. Serena left. And we had to go through the whole ceremony where he says all the names. And of course, Chris Harrison has to come out before the final rose to remind you guys, this is the final rose. And it's like, why are we going through all this crap? There's 3 roses. There's 3 contestants. All 3 of them are getting roses. This isn't drama. This isn't stress. There's nothing. We already know who's getting all the roses. So, in case you didn't realize, all 3 of them got roses. So, the 3 women going on to the next episode is Michelle, Rachel, and Brie. Now, next week's episode is going to be the tell-all thing, when all the contestants from the very beginning all come back together, and it's going to be a drama-filled episode. I'm so excited. Okay? A lot of shit's going to go down. I can't wait to watch it. Because there's still a lot... It seems like there's still a lot of bad blood between all these girls. Because, you know, they played the trailer for it at the end of the last episode. And I'm watching this. I'm like, I cannot wait to see this shit, man. Like, this is going to be insane. You know, I wonder if Heather is going to come back. Heather, if you remember what I said, she came in really late into the episode. And she was from a previous season of The Bachelor. She was from Colton's season. But through connections, she knew Hannah B. Hannah B. knew Tyler from her season. And Tyler's best friends with Matt. And so Hannah B. was like, hey, Matt's the Bachelor. I think he's a good match for you. You should go see him. And so she went. But then she got immediately kicked off because Matt's like, girl, we're almost at the end. You can't just jump in right now and expect to be let on the show. You know, so he kicked her out almost immediately. So I wonder if she's coming back for this tell-all thing. Because technically she wasn't really a part of the season, but she kind of was a part of the season. She was on for a hot second. But I don't know. We'll have to see. But that's not the end of the Bachelor drama. There's a whole lot of shit that's going on off screen. If you don't know what's been going on, basically, a few weeks ago, Chris Harrison was on a podcast with a former bachelorette. Her name was Rachel Lindsay. And they were discussing one of the contestants on Matt James' season, Rachel Kirkconnell. And if you don't know, a bunch of stuff came out about Rachel Kirkconnell, about certain racist things that she's done in the past. And Rachel Lindsay was bringing that up. And Chris Harrison basically said, hey, we should give Rachel a chance to speak about this. You know, he was basically trying to defend Rachel Kirkconnell. And then that's when Chris Harrison got a bunch of backlash for. And that's why he is stepping down as host of The Bachelor Bachelorette for a little bit. We all know he's coming back. Because he didn't say that he's gone for good. They just said that he's taking a step back for a little bit while all this stuff blows over, I guess. So all this stuff came out about Rachel, and for a while, none of the contestants or Matt were saying anything about it, which makes sense because, I mean, The Bachelor wrapped filming, but the season is still going on, you know, because episodes are coming out. So there's probably some sort of contract between the contestants and the network with what they can and cannot say about the Bachelor season, since it's still ongoing. But, you know, with something like this, there's a breaking point. You know, there's a point where you gotta be like, okay, I have to say something. So Matt and Rachel Kirkconnell came out with their responses to everything that's going on, and it was basically found out, spoiler warning though, we probably already figured out already. It seems like Rachel Kirkconnell won the season. Or she's the one who Matt fell in love with the most. So all this stuff is going on, and it seems that Matt has broken up with Rachel because of everything that she's done in the past. But that's about it of all we know. Basically, Rachel won. If you want to know more about everything that Rachel did and the stuff that Chris Harrison said, you can look it up. There's a shit ton of articles about the whole thing. I mean, I read like 5 just today about everything that's going on. And it's kind of crazy. It kind of sucks that it was spoiled for me because I didn't even realize that she won. I wasn't looking for spoilers. It just sort of popped up. And I saw it and I was like, well, now the season's ruined for me because now I'm watching the whole season, the rest of the season, and I'm like, okay, I already know who's going to win. So, like, I already know this girl's getting kicked off, this girl's getting kicked off, it's going to be Rachel. But I wonder when the tell-all was recorded. Because that would be interesting to see what exactly happens. If this was recorded after, all the stuff with Rachel came out, I wonder what's going to go on, if they're even going to mention it. Also, I don't even know if Chris Harrison is going to be on the tell-all. Because if this happened after everything that went down, then Chris Harrison wouldn't be hosting the tell-all because he would have stepped down. But I don't know. We'll have to see. I'll give you guys the update on the next episode of what happens in the tell-all. But it'll be interesting. In other more uninteresting news, I got a new phone just recently. It's the new iPhone 12 Pro. And before I go into anything, I just want to say it's a great phone. It's fantastic. The screen's great. It feels great. The camera's amazing. All that stuff. It's a great phone. But the thing is, I didn't need a new phone. My old phone was the iPhone XR, product red, and it looks amazing. It's working amazing. I mean, the phone is in perfect health. I didn't need a new phone. But I had to switch carriers, and I've had this phone, the XR, for about, I don't know, like a year and a half now. And when I switched carriers, I would either have to keep my XR for another 2 years, which I don't like doing. I mean, I like to keep my phone for at least 2 years. Because I'm not one of these, iPhone freaks who have to get a new iPhone every single time it comes out. Because it's like, once you buy a new iPhone, it's going to be, quote unquote, obsolete within like 10 months anyways. So like, what's the point in paying $1,000 every 10 months for a new phone? It's just dumb, But there's people who they have to have the newest, greatest iPhone, and I just kind of think it's a waste of money, Because most of the time, the changes in each phone is so minute, you can't even tell the difference. The main things that change is the chip in the phone and a slightly better camera. But I mean, you're not going to notice a difference in the camera between a year or even 2 years, even 3 years. I mean, you could probably take a picture with the iPhone 10 and it will probably look just as good as the iPhone 12 nowadays. You won't really be able to tell. And the thing is, most people don't even know about that type of shit. Like, you could tell them, oh yeah, the new iPhone's got a 1.5 aperture on the camera. And they're like, they don't fucking know what that means. You can ask them what chip they have in their phone and they'll be like, oh, I got the new Tostitos. I got the new Lay's salt and vinegar chip. Imagine that's just how they started referencing chips in like iPhones or computers. They just start naming it after literal chips. Hey, what chip do you have in your phone? I got the Doritos extra nacho cheese, spicy edition. Oh, you know me. I got the Lay's Poppables. Oh my gosh. I mean, people don't know this shit. But, everyone's got to have the newest, greatest thing. But, it's a pain in the ass to get a new phone. Because you got to transfer all the data over and you got to do all this shit, yada, yada, yada. And then when you go to the actual phone store, you always got some employee named like Tyler or something coming over and, just like scaring the shit out of you. I go in the stores all the time and I'm just like looking around and all of a sudden, boom, employee comes out of nowhere like, can I help you? And it's like, whoa, dude, can you chill out for a second? I'm just looking around. And they're like, can I get you anything? What size are you? Huh? Can I get you anything? Huh? What pair of jeans do you want? We got these new designs over here. Huh? You want to see these? Check out this new phone. It's like, dude, chill. I'm just looking. Okay, I'm just looking. If I need your help, I'll come over and I'll say, yo, Tyler, give me a hand over here. But until then, I need my space. I know they're just doing their job, but sometimes they just like, boom, out of nowhere, and you're like, whoa, scaring the shit out of me. Especially at device stores, like Apple stores or a Verizon store or a Sprint store or something like that. They always try to sell you on something. Like they think you're dumb. Which, most people, they don't really know all the differences between all the phones. So it might work with some people. But for me personally, whenever I get a new phone or a new device or new anything, I do research into the potential devices that I'm looking into getting and which one I get the most for my money. So I know when I go in to buy that product, I know exactly what I'm looking for. But every single time I go, they're like, hey, I know you want this phone, but have you seen this $1,000 phone? It's got 1 extra megapixel on the camera. And you're like, dude, I won't even be able to tell the difference between the photos. So, I don't give a shit. Okay, I know what phone I want. I'm going to get the one I want. They're like, no, you don't understand. You want this phone. I'm like, no, I don't want that phone. I came here with a certain phone that I want. Just give me the phone. And switching carriers is one of the worst things ever. Because you got to port your phone number over. Unless you want to get a new phone number. But, nobody really wants to do that. Because then you have to get all your contacts again. And the worst thing is, I got this phone. I'm about to port my phone number over. And a representative from my new carrier called me to give me a rundown on the process of transferring my phone number over. And this dude was talking so quietly and mumbling so much I couldn't understand a single word that he was saying. I'm listening to this voicemail like 10 times and I'm like, dude, what are you saying? Even my phone tried to transcribe the voicemail and it was missing like almost half the message and the English was all jumbled. And I'm trying to read the transcript and I can't even understand what's going on. The dude actually referenced me to a number that I need to call back in order to port my number over. And the transcript couldn't even register the number. It was missing some numbers because it couldn't understand what the dude was saying. I had to listen to the voicemail like 20 times just to figure out exactly what the number was. I'm not even kidding you. This guy was like, this is trying to help you throw your phone up. And I'm like, dude, can you speak clearly, please? I can't understand you. But after a long time, I managed to figure out what the number was. And, now I gotta call them and transfer my number over and all that stuff. But it's just a pain in the ass to do all that stuff. I don't understand how people are able to get a new phone every single year. I couldn't imagine doing this every single year. It's bad enough I have to do it like every 2 years, But overall, with the minimal amount of time I've been using this new phone, it's great. I just watched Titanic again on this phone to see how it would look, and it looks amazing. And speaking of Titanic, I was watching the movie, and every single time I watch Titanic, the more and more I'm convinced that Rose totally killed Jack on that ship. And I'm not talking about the door situation. Everyone's talked about the door. Okay? Even Mythbusters did an entire episode about how Jack totally could have been on that boat, been on that door with Rose. They both could have survived, all that stuff. Everyone's talked about that. But one of the things I want to talk about is what happened a long time before that happened. After Jack and Rose escaped from the bottom of the ship, after Jack was released from his handcuffs, they got up to the boat deck, and Jack was telling Rose, you need to get into a lifeboat. Which is true. She had to get in a lifeboat. The boat was sinking. A lot of people were going to die. A lot of people did die. She had to get on a lifeboat to survive. So he's trying to get Rose on this lifeboat. And at first, she's resisting because she loves Jack. She wants to stay with him. It's the whole point of the movie. But she manages to get on the lifeboat. Now, this is where I get a little pissed off, a little annoyed about the whole situation. The lifeboat is going down to the water. She's about to be saved. And she decides, I'm going to jump back on Titanic. And she jumps back on Titanic. And then Jack runs down and totally correct was like, why'd you do that? You're so stupid. Why did you do that? And if you think about it, if she had just stayed on that lifeboat, the lifeboat would have went to the Carpathia. She would have been saved. Jack probably would have stayed on the boat as long as possible, like he did in the movie with Rose. And then he would have found the door. And since Rose wasn't with him, he didn't have to put precedence of putting her on the door. He would have been on the door. He would have been found by the lifeboat. He would have been saved as well. I mean, why? Why did she jump back on the ship, dude? Like, that made me so mad. I'm like, by doing that, you just sealed Jack's fate. In that moment, she killed Jack. Because I know for the sake of the movie, for the sake of the story, the door can't hold two people. That's just the logic of the movie. But if Rose had been on that lifeboat, Jack would have only needed one person to be on that door. And it would have been him. And he would have survived. Now, I guess the only issue with her staying on the lifeboat would be Cal knows that she survived. Because he saw her on the lifeboat. So he would have been looking for her on the Carpathia knowing she survived. But she could have just done what she did at the end of the movie anyways when she actually did survive, which is hang around the third class area and then take the name Dawson when they start checking names. Because, I mean, even Cal suspected that she died, but he still went down to third class to look around to see if she possibly survived. So, why couldn't they just do that? Why couldn't Rose just have stayed on the lifeboat, survived, Jack would survive, she could have taken Jack's name, they would have lived happily ever after. Like, dude, you killed Jack. I wonder if she felt any guilt about that later on in life. Because I couldn't have been the only person who realized that she could have been on a lifeboat and been saved and Jack would have survived. So she had to have realized at some point, thinking, if I had stayed on that lifeboat, Jack probably would have been alive today. Rose made so many horrible decisions in that movie. I mean, another one that I don't even understand. I can't even think of a reason how this makes sense. And it was right after the ship got hit with an iceberg. And Jack and Rose overhear all the ship's officers saying, things are flooding, there's some rooms underwater, all this stuff. And then Jack says, this is bad. And Rose says, we should tell Mother and Cal. Now, before all this happened, if you remember, Jack and Rose were in her first class suite, and that's when Jack drew the French girl's picture of Rose. And then she left it in Cal's safe for him to find. Then, Lovejoy, Cal's right-hand man, bodyguard, whatever he is, he shows up, he sees them, he chases Jack and Rose all throughout the ship, they're running away from him. Then, there's the whole car thing. And then they come out, and that's when the ship gets hit with an iceberg. And then she decides we should go tell Mother and Cal. It's like, you just ran away from Lovejoy, the bodyguard. I guarantee he told Cal. And then also, you left a naked photo that Jack drew of you in Cal's safe for him to find. What were you thinking? Like, I don't, why would you go back to Cal? You obviously pissed him off. Nothing good could ever come from you going back and telling Cal that the ship's sinking. Like, I mean, they're all gonna get notified anyways when the ship starts literally sinking, and then the captain's like, yo, put your life belts on, we're abandoning this ship. So, why? Why did you go back? That just, I can't even fathom a reason why you would want to go back. Like, it just doesn't make sense. You did that in order to piss off Cal. I mean, I thought that whole situation, because she even told Jack when the ship docks, I'm getting off with you. So I figured that whole plan of her leaving the drawing in the safe for Cal to find would have been her, sayonara bitch moment to Cal. Being like, I'm leaving. I'm out of here. Fuck you. And that was pretty much successful. Yet you decide, let's go back. Why? I mean, that right there was another thing that totally killed Jack. Because that's when he goes back to the room and, they plant the Heart of the Ocean necklace in his coat. And then he gets caught. And then she just doesn't believe Jack. Which I don't understand. I mean, did you not think that Cal was going to try to get some sort of revenge on Jack for what you just did? I mean, why would Jack lie? Why would he steal? I mean, I'm like, Rose, you are kind of dumb, okay? I mean, that would have been the first thought that came to my mind. If for whatever reason I decided I'm going to go back to this abusive man, like, I would have figured anything that would happen that would try to make Jack look bad or something would have been a revenge stunt by Cal. And she just doesn't believe Jack and she just believes Cal. Like, dude, what is wrong with you? Like, all these moments totally just killed Jack. Because Jack got sent down to the bottom of the ship, which is why you had to go down there in the first place, and then you came back up, and then that's when you went on the lifeboat, and then all hell breaks loose. It's just, I wonder how different things would have been if she just decided, I'm not going to go see Cal. I'm just going to stay here with Jack. I mean, who knows? Maybe they would have both died. Maybe Jack would have died anyways, and she would have survived. Maybe the outcome would have been exactly the same. But I mean, at least you wouldn't have those dumbass decisions on your conscience, for the future. Thinking back, you're like, if I hadn't done A, B, and C, Jack probably would have been alive. And I know I'm ranting about this movie, and it sounds like this is a shitty movie, but it's not, okay? I love this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. There's just some decisions that happen in the movie where I just think it's kind of dumb. And I think most people would agree. I mean, most people think that Jack could have and should have survived. I'm just pointing out that there was other opportunities, there was other events that took place that could have ensured Jack's survival, or at least given him a better chance of survival than just the whole door situation. Because, I mean, people have ripped apart the door situation like a million times, so we all know the different things that could have happened and should have happened on that. If I had the opportunity, I would have went on Titanic. Even if I knew what was going to happen, I would still go on Titanic. Because, I mean, that ship is just amazing. Like, if you ever saw the movie Titanic, you probably know what I'm talking about. Just, the whole ship was just amazing. Like, I would really like to go on that. Somebody is actually making another Titanic. I can't remember who it is. but somebody's making another Titanic. And apparently, it's going to look exactly the same, and it's going to take the exact same route as the Titanic took as its maiden voyage. Now that sounds kind of cool and all, but then it's like, are you sure you want to do that? Like, I don't know if you know, but the last ship that went on that route kind of, sank. It was a big disaster. So, I mean, that's a good way to not get people to come onto your ship. Like, you're like, oh yeah, you know that path the other ship took and it sank and a bunch of people died? Yeah, we're going to be taking that exact same path, but don't worry. This is over 100 years in the future, so we know what we're doing. You're going to be safe. Like, the Costa Concordia back in 2012 wasn't any proof that, accidents could still happen. But, I'm kind of excited for it. I mean, I would go on it, even with it going on the same path, because, I mean, I kind of trust it. I trust nothing will happen. What if, because they're trying to sell this ship as, like, a totally authentic experience of being on the actual ship. What if they just take it too far and they actually freaking sink the boat, man? I mean, that's not funny. It's not funny. But, I mean, just like, totally freak them out. Be like, oh yeah, by the way, guys, an iceberg's coming. Okay, maybe not actually sink the ship, but just like, make people think that it's gonna sink. Oh my gosh. No, that's that's foul, man. You can't do that. But that would be friggin' hilarious if they did that. Just like freak everyone out for a hot sec. Like at night, you just kind of shake the ship up a little bit. Then you start like banging on people's doors, telling them to put their life belts on and get up to the boat deck. Start like freaking people out, blowing the horn and all that shit. And then when everyone's out on the boat deck, you're just like, oh no, guys, this was a drill. This was just for that authentic experience. Holy shit, man. People would be pissed. I mean, the company would definitely get sued for doing shit like that. I wonder when that ship is coming out. Because, I mean, I swear it's been delayed like 4 or 5 times already. I wonder if this ship is ever going to get freaking made, dude. Because, I mean, we were talking about it. It was first being talked about back in like 2016 or something like that. And I haven't heard anything since. I just kept hearing that it gets pushed back. But when it comes out, I'm 100% getting a ticket to go on that ship. Because I want to get that authentic Titanic experience, Oh, god damn it, man. Something I do want to touch on real quick is Daft Punk just recently ended. I hope I'm not the one breaking the news to you, but Daft Punk is over after about 28 years or something like that. Daft Punk is finished, which is kind of sad. I mean, I listened to a few of Daft Punk songs. I wouldn't say that Daft Punk was my favorite artist, but I mean, they were a group, I should say, actually. They were a group that I listened to a few times. They had a lot of great albums. I think an album that is kind of underrated is the Tron Legacy album, which I don't know if you know, but a long ass time ago, like 2011 or something like that, Disney put out a movie called Tron Legacy, which is a sequel to the first movie, Tron. And Daft Punk did all the music for that movie. And I mean, it's awesome. I mean, Tron Legacy itself is a pretty underrated movie, in my opinion. A lot of people hated it, but I kind of fucked with it, not gonna lie. Especially the album, Daft Punk. They even made a cameo in the movie, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's kind of upsetting to see that they're done. But they had a great run. Why am I fucking rhyming, dude? But anyways, I mean, it's upsetting. I enjoyed their music. And if you saw on Twitter, you saw that a lot of people enjoyed Daft Punk and they're sad that they're done. Because they had a lot of great collabs with other artists. But yeah, they're done. And they're not the only ones who are done. Kim and Kanye are done too. Woo! Oh shit. Yeah, Kim and Kanye, they're getting a divorce. Now, I don't even know why I fucking cheered. I've heard some shit that wasn't the best relationship, which, I mean, considering the Kardashians, I mean, I can't imagine that that's a great place to live. I mean, I've only seen a few episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. I mean, that shit is drama 24/7. I mean, they're always fucking pissed at each other. Like, I would want out of that family so fucking fast. It's not even funny, dude. But, I mean, Kanye's getting out now. I'm just excited for the diss track that's going to come out. Or for lucky, the diss album about the whole Kardashian family. I'm excited to hear what that is. Because holy shit, dude, imagine all the secrets that he knows about that family. I mean, just even the few things that he said while him and Kim were still together was like, yo, what? I do feel bad for their kids, though. You know, because that's always tough. Going through a divorce. You know, but I think Kim and Kanye should sit down with North and let her know, hey, sometimes things go south. It's kind of weird, though. I don't know if it's just me, but it's kind of hard to imagine a time before Kim and Kanye were together. And I mean, they were only together for like 6 years or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I mean, I never really paid attention to the Kardashians anyways. But I mean, at the time when I started to really hear things about the Kardashians, Kim and Kanye were already together. So that's probably where I'm coming from with that. But yeah, it's going to be kind of weird. I'm just excited to hear the music that's going to come out from all of this. Which, speaking of, it seems like everybody is starting music. I don't know if that's just what I've been noticing. But a few years back, everyone was starting a podcast. Now, everyone's starting a music career. That's like the new in thing to try. I mean, I follow like, I don't know, 10, 15 people who all just started a music career within the last year. And it's just like, where are these musical people coming from? You know, there's people who are in multiple music groups or by themselves or a combination of all. And it's insane. You know, I kind of thought about doing some type of music thing. I was on GarageBand just recently, and I was like playing around with some instruments, trying to make some music or some. And not to toot my own horn, okay? I made some pretty nice beats, I would say. Beats that I liked. But then I saw there was a microphone, and this is the first time I've ever seen this. I clicked on the microphone, and GarageBand has auto-tune. I didn't know that GarageBand had auto-tune. Dude, I was freaking out. I had so much freaking fun. I was recording so much shit. And oh my gosh, I didn't even know that GarageBand had auto-tune, but this changes everything. So like maybe I will start making some music in the future, you know? Maybe keep an eye out for maybe a song coming out in a little bit. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll post something. Or maybe not. You don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But, I mean, GarageBand, it has it all, man. Because I'm going to need some auto-tune, bro. I cannot sing for shit, dude. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, might as well be like everyone else. Start a music career of my own. See if anyone enjoys that shit. Maybe some people. Maybe some people will be into that type of stuff. Because it seems to be popping off for other people. I mean, these other people that I follow, like, they're doing well in their music careers. You know? So, obviously there's a market for startup music. You know? So, why not jump in on that? You know what I mean? One guy I know is in 2 separate bands. And they're both popping off. Like, holy shit, dude. That's crazy. Can you maybe break me off a piece of that? What do you say? But hey, that's an idea for the future, because I got other ideas I want to work on. I got other YouTube channels in the works, thinking about what to get started, because I got some ideas for actual videos to start working on. I got this one idea in the works because some people, for some reason, like to send me some really weird shit, and I don't know why. Because I look at the stuff that people send me, and it's like, I'm not fucking into that. So I figured, whether it's a diss or not, I was thinking maybe I could take that weird thing and expose it to a lot of other people anonymously. Sort of like a reaction video to all this weird shit that people send me. Because I did something kind of like this a while back, but I asked people to send me some messed up life stories or something like that. And a lot of people did, and I think it was kind of successful. But for some reason, I guess people decided that that was an open invitation to continually send me weird shit. I don't know, maybe they just think I'm weird as fuck, and we're just on like a certain wavelength, which is super assumptive, because like I said, I read the shit that people send me, and it's like, I'm not fucking into that yet. You know what I mean? So I have an idea for that. I guess if you have any weird shit, feel free to send it my way, because might as well, everyone else is doing it. You could send that to me on my socials, Twitter and Instagram @RealJLions, and I'll get a video together and I'll react to it, see if that's something that people are interested in. I also got an idea to start a gaming channel. I have some video games that I haven't played. I own, but I haven't played them yet. Thinking about maybe starting a gaming channel, because that's something that I've thought about doing, so I figured might as well try it out, see what it's like. But these are some ideas I have in the works for possible future things. But as we're coming to the end of this episode, I just want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in for this episode. I'm trying to get Apple Podcasts and Spotify up and running. It takes a while for these companies to approve the podcasts and allow me to start posting on those platforms. So if that's better for you, just hold on. I'm trying to get it done as fast as possible, but for now, I'm just posting stuff on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe if you want to hear more episodes. Comment what you liked or didn't like. Make sure you like. And follow me on my socials @RealJLions, Twitter and Instagram. And also follow the Lion on Main accounts on Twitter and Instagram, which are both @LionOnMain. That account will be giving updates on this podcast specifically. My personal accounts will just be me. Updates about stuff that I'm working on, or just anything in general. But if you want more specific updates about this podcast specifically, follow the Lion on Main accounts. And that seems to be it. I'll just end the podcast, I guess.